Hi everybody, Scott here from the Introvert Powered channel. In this video I want to answer the question, are INFJs secretive? So I think the perception is yes and the reality is no. And I think the reason for the perception is the sometimes reservedness of the INFJ, in that they're often observing, either observing a conversation or what's going on, or when they're asked a question. Sometimes it can take a while for the INFJ to find the answer. And to others it could appear as though they're being cagey, like they're just jumping around trying to hide something, when really they're jumping around trying to find something to say. Another reason for the possible perception that INFJs are secretive is if they're moving their eyes around a lot when they're communicating. Some people could judge that as being cagey, not being able to look people in the eye, or looking around for some answer to kind of give that might not be a true answer. Now, maybe not all INFJs do the eye moving around business, but for the most part, when an INFJ is doing that, as I've said in other videos, they're doing that because they're searching their NI, and the eye movement is signaling that the INFJ is reaching around inside their brain, trying to search for the true answer. What is the truth that I want to share? Another reason for the perception of an INFJ secretive is their abstract communication. Oftentimes, for the most part, an INFJ is going to be dealing with a sensor who prefers more concrete, factual, detailed responses. And when an INFJ is responding in an abstract way, there's very little for the sensor to sort of grab onto, like there's nothing solid to grab onto. And that could be another reason that people are thinking, like, what are you hiding? What are you, what's really going on here? Like, you're not making any sense, or you're going all over the place. What's up with you? Some sensor types will have can often have an impatience with intuitive language. They just want concrete, factual responses. And when an INFJ isn't doing that because they're abstract in their communication, it could cause people to think that they're hiding something. Another one of the reasons that people might think that an INFJ is being secretive is that the INFJ doesn't actually trust the other person. That they've picked up that there's an ulterior motive to a question, or that they're not feeling comfortable in a conversation, or they're not feeling understood or got, or something along those lines. And so the INFJ is not being secretive, they're being, it's more a boundary that they're not comfortable to share a part of themselves with someone that they're not comfortable with, or not or don't trust. And so that's when an INFJ could sort of show that reserve side, or it can come across as standoffish. Some of that's just being an introvert. Some of it is just, INFJs can look standoffish. Other times it's an INFJ putting a boundary in place that they're not prepared to go where the other wants them to go, because there's not the trust, or they suspect something is an ulterior motive is behind what's being asked. I think what's mainly going on for an INFJ is, for the most part, they live in an atmosphere within themselves where very few other people seem to be able to occupy. And I've drawn it before in other videos where, sensor types are kind of on the surface, factual and concrete, and an INFJ is below the ground and further down. And other intuitives can certainly hang around in that area, but even intuitives can have a hard time getting an INFJ. So INFJs are used to being alone down there, and some people might be thinking that they're withholding something, but really it's more that the INFJ is not feeling met to the degree that they're able to respond at that deeper level. And so it's like other types might pick up, all those assumptions that I was talking about earlier. But for the INFJ, it's simply that what's being spoken of, whether it's in a conversation, a meeting, or whatever, an INFJ is at a different sort of bandwidth, and is not feeling as though either what they have to say is relevant or will be understood, or there's a discomfort that they won't be understood. But just to bring it back to what I was saying at the beginning of this explanation, if there's another person that engages with them at their sort of NI level, then an INFJ will, it's almost like the other person's kind of knocking on the door of the INFJ, and the INFJ is just going to want to respond because they're kind of used to being alone in their introverted intuition. So it's like two people of the same type, when they meet up and have a conversation, they're going to be instantly on a very similar wavelength, and there's going to be easy banter and communication. For the INFJ, there's very few people that meet them at that level, and so they can be somewhat reserved in a lot of situations, just because nobody's speaking their language. It's not that they're trying to hide something or hide themselves. They're trying to find a way in which to represent themselves. So I think it's just a misconception that INFJs are secretive. For the most part, I don't think that's accurate. There might be individuals that have a secretive part of them. But I think for the most part, INFJs they're open books. It's just that nobody can see them because very few other people are at the similar bandwidth. The reality is that INFJs experience others, not everybody, but often experience others as secretive, others with ulterior motives, with agendas, with parts of themselves that they're hiding, that they're insecure about people seeing. And so for the most part, INFJs are seeing secretiveness in people. But the INFJ, for the most part, I think will respect that and not want to kind of encroach on that. I guess I just want to also acknowledge that doesn't make all INFJs like perfect and other types not perfect. There's certainly unhealthy and healthy people in all types. And if an INFJ is secretive, that kind of carries around secrets, whether like hiding themselves, they're most likely hiding something from themselves. They're blind to that area of their lives for whatever reason, past traumas or other issues. So if an INFJ gets to a place where they're hiding things, they're being secretive, there's most likely damage there that would cause that. And I guess I just want to make a distinction between being secretive and being private. I think secretive is something about being more deceptive and deceiving versus private, which is there's certain parts of me that I either don't feel comfortable to share or just doesn't feel appropriate to share, or nobody's asking the right question for me to share. For those that would like to support me making more videos and have access to exclusive content, check out my Patreon page. So anyway, there's just some of my thoughts on the topic of are INFJ secretive. And I hope you've enjoyed the video. Feel free to like it if you've indeed liked the video, and please share it if you feel that there's others that could benefit from this video. And I'll see you in another video.